From Montreal, McEnroe takes on Lendl for the Canadian national title and $143,000. Call in Montreal, the Ghostbusters. That's who was out there earlier today drying off this court. There was a lot of rain. The weather forecast was not good, and the rain materialized. However, it has stopped. 70 degrees, DecaTurf 2, the same surface as the U.S. Open, but it is very still and very pleasant conditions for playing tennis just as long as it doesn't rain. Good day to everyone. I'm Cliff Drysdale. The two top seeds in this championship are through. John McEnroe and Ivan Lendl, the last time they played was during the WCT finals in the semifinal of that championship, and that was some time ago. Mary Carrillo, the last time they played, John McEnroe turned things around on Lendl and beat him.
He really did. For 4 years, he had lost to Lendl. He just couldn't figure out a way to beat him. It was a 3 out of 5 set match, and McEnroe was able to win that one in 4 sets. It was a big win, and it was very, very well played by McEnroe. He served very well. He attacked off return all the time. It'll be tough for him to do it this week, and today especially. He's won 9 straight singles matches in a row, Cliff, but he's had every single match but one has been a 3-setter for McEnroe. So he's been scratching his way around. He can't afford a slow start, and he's going to have to serve better. Still, I think he can win.
Now, how about the serve, Mary? Now, so much, as you've said, depends on his serve. And in that Dallas match, he served brilliantly. He hasn't served that well this week.
No, he hasn't. And the way for him to serve against Lendl is very specific. He's got to stretch him, and then he's got to go into his body as well. It's that stretch and jam thing. Especially Lendl hasn't been playing too much tennis, and so the hardest movement for him would be to get out of his own way. So again, McEnroe has to be very, very tough today to win.
I'll be watching for the stretch and jam thing from John McEnroe on the serve. How about Ivan Lendl, Fred Story? The man is the #1 player in the world and has been for so long. And at this point, you know, he says this is a warm-up for the U.S. Open, but he's playing kind of confidently, isn't he?
Well, it is certainly a warm-up for the U.S. Open. I differ as far as my philosophy is concerned about the way the match is played as far as Mary is concerned, because I think over the years, when Lendl plays against McEnroe, he tees off for the first 3 or 4 service games, and John McEnroe just tries to belt returns a serve straight at McEnroe to try and get John McEnroe a little bit edgy on the volley. When that happens, then he goes back to a more controlled return of serve. He'll slice a couple, and this makes it tough on McEnroe.
How about the serve, Fred? Lendl says that as goes his serve, so goes his game, and it's been spotty.
Well, I think you can say that about both players out here. They've both been struggling a little bit this week. Ivan Lendl served badly yesterday for the first set and a half. The third set against Agassi, both players turned it on, and it was a brilliant set of tennis. And so when they're in trouble, the top guys seem to come up with the goods on their serve, be it McEnroe or Lendl.
Gee, what a nice lineup for the final here today of the Canadian Open Championships. $143,000 at stake, and the National Championship of Canada. The Canadian Open is brought to you by Volvo, a car you can believe in. By AT&T, the right choice. And by new Michelob Dry, one taste and you'll drink it dry. The final match here this afternoon for the Canadian Open Championship, Ivan Lendl, the #1 seed, will take on John McEnroe, the #2 seed from Montreal. There's a look at John McEnroe leading Ivan Lendl, walking toward the stadium court here at the Joey Tennis Stadium that used to be the home of the Expos baseball team. It is very cloudy outside, or upstairs rather, as these two players make their way to the court. And we took a look at the differences between these two players and came up with this. Fred?
Well, we gave Lendl the serve, bit of a discussion about that one. Certainly McEnroe the volley. Ground strokes, we went for Lendl because of his expertise from the back of the court. The surface was also under discussion, and I think that was pretty even. But strategy to McEnroe, because for McEnroe to win today, everything has to work. He's going to be the man that's going to be doing the attacking.
On the serve, just a quick note on that. For the week, Lendl has only served at 50%, and he's only had 7 aces. That's very low for Ivan Lendl. McEnroe's serve hasn't been that good either. He's 53% on the week, but he's had 19 aces.
They have played each other, as we've already told you, 30 times in the past. Each one has won 15. It's interesting. It's not the same numbers that Chrissy and Martina played by any means, but They've played a lot. You know, they're about the same age. McEnroe's 30. Lendl is 29. McEnroe dominated. There was a time when everyone said Ivan Lendl is a bridesmaid. He just cannot win a major championship. They played that extraordinary French final when McEnroe was in control of the match. Lendl won it in 5, and things turned around then. There it is, 15-15. Last time they played was in Dallas during the WCT finals there. McEnroe played brilliantly, won it indoors on carpet, the Reunion Arena.
And again, that was, I mean, McEnroe had been losing to Lendl. Of course, he went on hiatus from 1986. He'd missed almost a year of tennis, really, and didn't face him. But from 85 to 89, Lendl beat him 4 times. McEnroe had beaten him 5 straight times in 83 and 84. The biggest surge was Lendl's. He had beaten McEnroe 7 times in a row from 1981 to 82.
That's how things have been between the two of them in finals. The 84 one is the one I was talking about. That turned things around for Lendl in his career, not only against McEnroe, but just generally, because that was the first Grand Slam he won. Everybody was saying, I don't know if this guy can ever win a Grand Slam. Of course, that changed in a hurry after that win. And they played twice in the U.S. Open, and they split those.
Shows you how close they've been over the years, though. Only a year separates them, but in overall titles, Lendl's won 79 career titles, and John McEnroe, by winning the GTE US Hardcourts last year, took his up to 75. So they've been pretty close throughout their career.
Man is in the hot seat today, and it might be interesting to see how much work that he has, because, of course, John McEnroe has had his run-ins with umpires throughout his career, Bruno Ribot. McEnroe's ranked number 5 on the ATP computer. Lendl, of course, is back to number 1 on the computer and has been since the Australian Open win earlier this year when he beat Miloslav Machir in that Grand Slam final, which, by the way, was the first time that he'd won the Australian Open. It's been a good year for both of these two, and they're playing for this big first prize at the Canadian in a moment. Stadium in Montreal, Canada, a very hazy day, and I hope for your sake and ours that it doesn't come down with rain before this match is over, because it promises to be really something. Look at that match record for both of these players. Lendl has only lost 4. McEnroe has also only lost 4. Lendl's played more tennis, as you can see. Great record in finals, good record on hard courts.
Take a seat. Any seat. Thank you.
And by the way, McEnroe has only lost to the top 3 players in the world, including Lendl once this year.
Mentioned in the stand-up, I'm just interested to see if Ivan Lendl stays with the same tactics that he has used over the years by just trying to tee off the first few games.
Canadian Open has been very good to Ivan Lendl. Been in 8 finals, and he's won it 5 times.
Both these players have supported this event over the last decade.
This is his 9th final appearance, Lendl's. McEnroe's won it twice. He won it back-to-back in 84 and 85. McEnroe in trouble on this first serve game. Exact same thing happened to him yesterday against Jay Berger, first game.
And it's exactly what he does not need, a slow start against Lendl.
Well, he's put under pressure there because, again, he knows Lendl stepped around and whacked that forehand at love 15. John lucky to reach it and then couldn't control it, so tries to go for a little bit extra on that second serve, knowing full well that Lendl's going to drive the ball at him coming into the net. 3 break points.
That's the one McEnroe used so well in Dallas. When he finally was able to beat Lendl, he took it right into his body. And by going into the body, you can then establish your wide serves to either court. But first you got to make Lendl think that it could go right into his belly. Another one into the body. That's the one I like. I really think that's the way to play Lendl. Now, twice into the body. Now John can swing out left, out wide.
Traded wins this year. It was the Australian Open that Lendl won, where he beat McEnroe on the way. It was in the quarterfinals in 3 sets, 2 tiebreakers.
Got him.
The number 1 seed has broken McEnroe in the first game of the match.
Have a look at Ivan Lendl, who I said has only been serving at 50%, but look how effective he is off first serve, 83% when it goes in the court.
I think we tried the court.
McEnroe is claiming that the court still feels dampish all over by his baseline over there. I have to make an important correction, though. I said that Lendl had just a couple of aces, 7, but in fact he's had 28 already this week. The problem is he pumps in the big ones, and yet he doesn't get in enough first serves. That's been his problem.
When he gets them in, though, he's got an 83% result.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good dividend to be picking up when the chips are down, and that's when he came through yesterday against Agassi.
Well, we kind of addressed this subject yesterday, and I still feel that McEnroe, it's far more important for him to get an effective first serve in than it is for him to get a high percentage. Because I think that when he hits that first serve, that his second serve is more damaging.
That's exactly the kind of stuff McEnroe must do all day long against Ivan Lendl. He was able to do it in Dallas, but again, that was a 5-set match. McEnroe needed 4 sets to beat Lendl, but it's a difficult thing to do point after point. The percentages obviously are with Lendl in a 2 out of 3 set match that John can't continue to attack return like that and come in.
Why would you say that, Mary? Because I think the percentages are very good for him if he does that. Second serve, yes, you're going to make some errors, but it's a much better play than staying back.
Well, the point is McEnroe, on both his serve, which has already been broken, and return of serve, has to take the aggressive posture.
That's right.
And that's you can't call that high percentage against a guy like Lendl.
I think it's higher than the alternative.
Oh, absolutely. The alternative is losing.
15-30.
That was a shot that was successful for Lendl yesterday, that when he gets this shot, he hits that very heavy topspin, and it clears the net by a good 8 to 10 feet and bounces up very high. We've talked about the bounce of the ball here in Montreal this week, and that one got up round about McEnroe's shoulder, and he lost control of the forehand drive.
There are no surprises left when these two play each other. That's what Lendl says. We just go out and slug it out. If anybody gives anything away, that'll be a surprise. That's exactly as it is. They've played, as we said, 30 times. They know each other's games intimately.
That was an unbelievable second serve. McEnroe is going to go up and check the mark or have a look at the forehand drive, but pinpoint accuracy, that second serve, and that's where Lendl's been having his problems this week. There's double faults on the second serve.
Still hasn't gotten his first serve in, and yet he's up. Point per game.
40-30. Same thing yesterday. Very, very low percentages in the first set and a half. Oh, yeah.
So Great approach there from McEnroe, and as Mary said, this is what he has to do, and he's smart enough, and he has the experience that when he gets that short ball, they've played one another enough times to know what is required. There he gets the short ball, gets the shoulder turn, makes the approach, and covers the one down the line. Good stretch on that volley. One thing that you'll notice with Ivan Lendl also in the first 4 or 5 games, he likes to go down the line with that backhand until he gets grooved and he gets the rhythm on that down the line backhand. He won't try too many approach shots cross court.
Winner.
Well, Parsons had a great approach on that one.
And a break point. Lendl's first serve so far on a permanent vacation. As you hear Lendl complaining about the serve, at least the lines person behind McEnroe when he's serving, moving to try to get a good look at where the ball bounces. Still no first serve.
McEnroe knows how important this early stage of the match is for him to get on track on that return. He's hit a couple of brilliant ones.
He knows how important it is to convert when he gets a chance too, doesn't he? That was break point. This is deuce.
Well, that's the first big serve that Ivan Lendl has got in today. And there it is, right out wide to the backhand. And watch this, though, from behind the baseline. McEnroe in pretty good position there. It's just pace of shot going into that off forehand that wins the point for him.
So Lendl holds on, 2 games to love. This Gary Tennis Stadium is jammed again today, and just as everybody expected it would be. It's a sellout, of course. Standing room only here. You can see it looks like a baseball deal there behind, isn't it? This is looking, that camera shot was from the stand you're looking at now into what was the baseball stadium here. 10,000 people plus. Thought we might miss a few this morning because of all the rain we had, but no dice. They're here in force.
That's what we were talking about, that Lendl's tactics against this guy is just to open the shoulders. Now, you can't hit anything harder than the way he cracked that one.
McEnroe won in Lyon. He beat Jacob Klasik of Switzerland, tiebreaker second set. Then he won the WCT in Dallas, beating Lendl in the semifinals. And Brad Gilbert, who's in the final down in Cincinnati, beat Becker yesterday. He'll play Stefan Edberg in the final there, the ATP Championships. What a year Gilbert has had. What a summer.
Final for Brad Gilbert in 4 straight weeks. That ties a record that Ivan Lendl set back in 1982 when he had 6 straight finals in 6 weeks, and he won 4 of them. But Gilbert's going for that too. I mean, there's a great chance Gilbert will be seated in the top 8, possibly even 7 at the U.S. Open, which means he could play Becker again in the quarterfinals.
Well, what a confidence build. I mean, he was in the final in Washington, and he lost to Tim Mayotte, who gives him such a hard time every time they play. But since then, unbeatable.
I like what Gilbert says. I mean, you know, Brad, we've had him all summer. Yeah. He says, well, if I get seated in the top 8, I get a good parking spot at the Open. That's what I want. Another huge backhand return winner off of McEnroe. He's just climbing all over McEnroe's serve. This thing wasn't, the direction of it wasn't bad, but there wasn't a lot on it. Lendl had all kinds of time to do with it, what he wanted.
He hasn't chipped anything yet. Lendl. Just nailed everything that he could get his racket on.
2 break points.
Sorry, Cliff, off the ground or on the return to serve.
That's a lob for a winner, and McEnroe is broken for the second time. Lendl's on a roll, 3 games to love behind 2 serve breaks.
Welcome back to the Players International, Montreal, Jarry Stadium, and it's all been Ivan Lendl so far, and this is how he got his second break point. Look at this, good control on that topspin lob in isolation. He knows it's in when he hits that. And watch McEnroe, he plays the half volley, closes in, looking for that cross-court forehand. It beats him, and John McEnroe then realizes he's in all sorts of trouble in this first set, 2 breaks down.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, Lendl has made the point of saying time and again this week that he's here for U.S. Open practice, but you throw John McEnroe over on the other side of the net against him, and it's war.
It changes things in a heartbeat, doesn't it? Yeah, it is. In finals, look at that. I mean, these two are both great champions.
They couldn't have asked for a better semi-final lineup here. You get McEnroe against Jay Berger, who's been playing the best tennis of his career, and Ivan Lendl against Andre Agassi. Just a dream situation for John Beddington. John Beddington, the promoter up here, who has done such a wonderful job with Tennis Canada over the years.
Tournament director of the championship here, and Tennis Canada, by the way, is the Canadian equivalent of the United States Tennis Association. French-speaking Montreal, there's about 20% of the folks in this city and province of Montreal are English-speaking.
Boy,
Look at that.
marvelous what a little bit of confidence will do for you, and a couple of service breaks up. You can afford to keep winging it and just going for everything, and that's how Lendl started off his day. He continues in that vein. That's a fine approach shot. You can't get much better than that from John McEnroe. Look at the angle that's achieved off that cross-court forehand.
30 love. And 3 games to love, Lendl. From the net, a lot, in fact.
Yeah, but he totally wristed that thing from behind the baseline. That's such remarkable strength.
Now you know you're in trouble, though. You've played 2 great approach shots like that, and he nails one cross-court, and this one, he hooks from behind him, catches the top of the tape, and you're sitting on it, and bounces over the racket.
The turning point of this first set was that break point that McEnroe had first time Lendl served, and he got a second serve. Tried to come in behind an approach shot and hit it long. That had been different. The set would have been a whole nother story. Four games to left for the number 1 in the world.
That's the only ace so far from Lendl.
By the way, I called this French-speaking Canada, and of course it is, but Judith Elian, who writes for L'Equipe magazine, a daily sports newspaper in Paris, says they do not speak French here. She claims that it is unrecognizable French to her. She says it with tongue-in-cheek, of course. But it's a very different, apparently very different way of expressing themselves.
I can't figure out the difference.
It's all Greek to you, huh?
Oh, there's another.
Unbelievable. Again, McEnroe, his serve isn't scaring Lendl at all, is he? He doesn't seem put off by the wide one. He's just on it all the time.
Shoulder turn, foot placement, perfect position to make that return. And he was even out in front of the ball.
Exactly,
which makes
not
it
even
better.
hurried.
No.
40-15.
I have always thought that Lendl's slice backhand is overdone anyway. I think his more effective return is that big swipe return a serve. I think it's much more damaging to a big server. I think he should slice it sometimes, but not as much as he's got in the habit of doing.
Well, he had to do that when he was trying to develop the shot, because you really can't play a shot like that under pressure if you haven't tried it, if you haven't used it under match conditions. And that's only since Tony Roach has been coaching Lendl that he even looked like playing a slice backhand.
Yeah.
On the return, anyway.
There's a game point for Lendl, at least for McEnroe now.
Of course, in the early days in his career, that was his staple shot, that slice. And then when he developed as a player, he started to hit the topspin and gave the slice away, and then kind of came back to it, as you said, Fred, when Roach took over again. Game point.
He needs that first serve to go in. His second serve effectiveness is 15%.
It shows you how Lendl's been returning, doesn't it?
Yeah. McEnroe's already been broken twice.
Well, yeah.
Again, that's just power of shot on the return. I mentioned earlier that makes McEnroe jab at that volley, as he did on that backhand there. And when he jabs at it, he doesn't get that smooth flowing stroke that he likes on that volley with the... So it pops up and allows Ivan Lendl, you know, if you give Lendl a good shot at a passing shot, he can make him.
Game point still 40-30.
It's a big hand from the crowd. They'd like to see McEnroe do better than he has done so far. Behind 2 serve breaks, it's 4-1.
It is still here today in Montreal, Canada, for the final match of the Players International Canadian Open Tennis Championships. Lendl leads at 4-1 behind 2 serve breaks. But unlike the rest of the week, in fact, the last 2 weeks have been sunny and bright and warm. Today is cloudy. In fact, we're surrounded by low clouds. Fortunately, there's very little breeze, so they may stay where they are. We'd be happy about it. 4-1 Lendl serving.
Lendl's going to go and ask the question.
I'm not sure.
Oh, that's not a very good answer. There's the replay, and Ivan Lendl says to Bruno Ribot, as the serve out, he says, I'm not sure. But he will not make an overrule unless he is sure. McEnroe from the back of the court this time, finding his timing on this forehand. It's a slice, it's rather deep, and he just comes over the top of that one for the winner down the line.
13 for Lendl so far, and McEnroe's way behind in that winner department. Makes you question, when you see McEnroe play a point like that so well, makes you question whether he should attack it just all the time so quickly.
Good effort.
Difference on that last point, Cliff, as opposed to this. He attacked off the slice backhand that came in deep, and that's he was able to come under these. But look where this he's on the run here. But throughout that rally, he was under extreme pressure. McEnroe really nearly into the bleachers. He's under pressure there because of the topspin that Ivan Lendl is hitting, and it's jumping up. He can't attack off that shot. Not
thing is,
consistently.
and one other thing McEnroe's got to do, he's got to stay right on that baseline as well. If he falls too far off the baseline, then he's really in trouble. He gives away too much court, and with all that heavy topspin of Lendl's, and then McEnroe's, he's got no real play into the opposite court. So he's got to hug that baseline the way Agassi does when he plays.
And the only chance he's going to get to attack is off the slice, because if Lendl keeps that three-quarter court topspin, he's got to take too many risks.
Erstwhile photographer, he's moving around behind McEnroe.
2 in a row for Lendl, so we're back even 30 all here in this game.
Got him.
Second ace.
You work so hard to get a little lead on Lendl's serve and then come through with a couple of those, and there's nothing you can do about it.
The only double fault from Lendl today. Not at a very good time, though. McEnroe hesitated on the return and then was caught three-quarter court and went into the net. But he went in on that lethal forehand side and just adds another couple of winners to Lendl's tally.
He's had a few chances, Lendl, on McEnroe, at least McEnroe has on Lendl's serve. As McEnroe's going over there and asking one of the cameramen to take a seat, no uncertain terms. He had love 30 on that serve game there, Lendl's, and then once before, Lendl serving from the same side, he had break point on him, but he hasn't broken yet.
Look at that. He really has treated this big serve of McEnroe with disdain today. It's into the body, that one, but not close enough. It didn't jam him, so Lendl had time to really get a good swing at it. 16-4 in the winners department.
Is that... Yes.
Oh, man.
What a shot.
Well, we've all seen Mary John McEnroe play a perfect set of tennis.
That's
It's
just what he
Wimbledon when
loves.
he played against Connors, and you know we've seen some perfect sets, but this is what's happening today.
Yeah.
He's wondering what the hell's going on out there, because Ivan Lendl has yet to miss.
You know what this is like? This is like the first set at the Australian Open, where McEnroe suddenly realized, oh my God, this guy's going to play this way all day, isn't he? Of course, McEnroe wasn't able to raise his game high enough that day.
That was a mishit.
Look at him.
He's even having a laugh. McEnroe's just saying, well, you know, that wasn't a bad serve. I can't cover it. Even he's catching them off the end of the frame and throwing them back, and they're coming in.
This is set point 3 of them for Lendl. You cannot argue with that, can you? That is just an outstanding display from the world's #1. We'll be back with more.
back to Jarry Stadium for the Canadian Open Championships, Players International. That's the service profile comparison in the first set. Lendl way up there with first serve percentages, but McEnroe up there 71%. He's been getting his knocked off. But the first serve points won there, 83% when Lendl gets it in, and he's only at 52% on first serves.
6-1 to Lendl, easily won the first set.
You look at that and you think 71% with John McEnroe first serves in. That's got to win a lot of sets. And it fairly hasn't. He's won one service game in that so far.
He's getting them in, but they're just not effective against Lendl.
Not today, anyway. So far.
That's good.
Out. Couldn't handle the pace for that second volley. Tried to just sort of pop it into the court. He made a good return, and this was a fine volley here, but all the pace of Lendl's shot here, John tried to pop it into the open court, but it flew on him.
He had to believe Lendl was going to try to go down the line there. When you're running wide as fast as Lendl was, the high percentage players down the line, and as you said, Mary, hit it hard, but also in an unexpected direction, I think. Dirty love. Nothing's changed in the second set yet. Lendl still playing masterful tennis. 1 game to love and 1 set to love.
Welcome back to Montreal for the Canadian Open. There we look at the service percentages there. We just told you about that, but look at the winners. Lendl 19-4. McEnroe had his serve broken 3 times. That's unbelievable when you're serving at 71% on first serves. 32 minutes the first set.
Yeah, it was good. Overall from Bruno Rabot in the chair. And he's right. And no complaint from McEnroe, so you know he was dead right. McEnroe could see ball ended inside the line. 1 game to love for Lendl, second set, and he won the first 6-1.
The guy on the baseline had to have something to say. He hasn't opened his mouth. Lendl hasn't hit too many deep.
McEnroe's going to have to stretch himself too today in every department to keep up with Lendl.
Definitely. You can be sure that John McEnroe is going to hang in there, though. He's not going to give it away. The big thing that he has to face is the fact he's got 71% of first serves in. What does he do when he relies so much on the serve? Does he take a bit off it? Try and get a bigger percentage of first serves in? The 71% is a big percentage.
My answer to that question, Fred, is definitely not, as I've said for the last couple of days. He needs to go for the big first serve. Good question, though. 15-all.
See, I think Lendl's just...
You're not going to take any pictures, though. I know that.
Really...
Sure as hell shouldn't be there.
Lendl's really just absorbing the pace of McEnroe. I think he's going to change it up a bit, slow it down, and let Lendl try and make some of his own pace. McEnroe still arguing with the handheld camera down there.
Game point for McEnroe. Trying to win his second game of the match. Game point. One game all. Lendl's going to the sideline, probably to, let's see, change rackets. It is one game all now in the second set. First set to Lendl, easily 6 games to 1. That's the first game. McEnroe has won in the second set. On serve, Lendl will serve.
Lendl serve with new ball, so that means 1-all. He went over and changed rackets. It's a new racket, and that's one of the few times we've seen him get in there and knock off the volley.
Big difference between Lendl's racket bag and McEnroe's. Lendl's are all strung exactly the same. McEnroe has about 8 different rackets in his bag with about 5 different tensions, and he just accordingly, depending on how he feels he's hitting the ball, if he needs more pace, if he needs more touch, he checks him out on changeovers. I got into a tennis theory discussion with John McEnroe one night last week. The topic was, how do you return against a guy like Lendl or like Steffi Graf, who has a huge serve and stays back? It's very difficult, because if you hit back really hard, then you're out of position on the court. You've given away a lot of court. If you hit back, if you chip or hit softly, then because they haven't come to net, they give themselves plenty of time to rip a winner. It's very, very difficult.
It's interesting to look at that from the returner's standpoint. It is equally interesting to look at that from the servers and to say, why do you need to serve and volley if you have a big enough first serve?
Yeah, this Lendl Graf, it's really a whole new concept, sort of.
Lendl was waiting for an overrule from Bruno Roubaud there halfway through that rally from the back court. Says you overrule one up there, why not this one?
I like the soft court play, Fred, as you well know, but for another reason, that is, there is a mark, and on this court here, there's just no mark. There's no way that you can overrule effectively. Game point.
One of the better points from McEnroe here. Good lengthy rally, gets the short one, does what he does best, into the net. This time he gets back into good position for the overhead and hits it in the open court.
McEnroe's got to have better starts against Lendl's serve. Once he gets into it, he can put some points together. But look at this, Lendl's still got a game point. Brought it back.
3 in a row for McEnroe, a deuce. That net approach statistic, by the way, was interesting. Couple of things to note. That is that, of course, Lendl, by the time he gets to the net, he's got the .1 anyway. Doesn't mean because he's winning 100% that he should be coming in anymore. 17 of 34 for McEnroe. That's low for him. Deuce.
Opportunity now.
We saw Jay Berger hit an entirely different cross-court backhand winner against John McEnroe last week in Indianapolis. He comes over it, but Lendl, he's got this shot where he's stretched and he can just slide it over and find that mark. That's one of my favorite shots in Lendl's game.
Did you see how much territory he had to cover to get to it as well? Game point again.
McEnroe's just got to keep on track, keep attacking, because he can't win from the back of the court. You've got to stick to the game plan, knowing that that is the way to be successful if Lendl misses a few. If he keeps making the shots, you can't do anything about it. But you only got to get a little bit shaky, and McEnroe's right back in it. Missed a few first serves in this game. McEnroe doing the right thing, only it was a great second serve from Lendl, good depth, which then McEnroe didn't have the shot that he wanted to go in, but he'd committed to the fact that he was on his way in off the return.
Game point.
One set and 2-1 on serve, second set for Lendl.
Tony Roach, probably one of the greatest doubles players of all time. He's a left-hander. You can see he had surgery on left arm. He's got to be pretty happy with the way things. Look at that muscle there. And they part of the Handsome 8 with Cliff Drysdale. It became known as the Handsome 7 plus Roach at one stage. But talking about doubles, we got surprise finalists. Beckman and Cannon, Charles Beckman and Shelby Cannon against Kelly Everton and Todd Witskin. And, that's an interesting one.
Roach used to play, of course, with the great and glorious John Newcomb, who used to be on him in singles mostly, but they made up a great doubles team. Two games to one for Lendl. McEnroe serving second set. Lendl won the first 6-1.
Talking about doubles, one of the major sponsors of this event up here are Molson, and down in the United States they have the Molson's Doubles Classic. It's being played in 700 clubs throughout the United States, and the regional winners of that event get invited to the Lipton next year in March down to Key Biscayne. So if you're a tough doubles team in the club level, check it out in your city and see if you can get a all expenses paid trip down to the Lipton.
You'll see Fiery Fred down there because he's the spokesman for that event. Fred, you going to play in it?
If I can get a wild card.
Low.
You know McEnroe's not going to go away. He's just got to keep this up, and that's a little bit better depth on the volley. So just a defensive shot from Ivan Lendl there from way back behind the baseline. Back to the net as he gets that shoulder rotation in the serve, the determination, and look at this, goes forward. That's the secret to that. When that ball is high, don't wait for it to come to you. Go in, attack it.
Back even, second set, 2 games all.
Break him here, break him here.
There's the winners, Lendl 24-9, backcourt 63% for Lendl, 27 for McEnroe. That's to be expected from the back of the court.
Is that a new shirt that McEnroe is sporting? I haven't seen that design before.
It's a new part of the line, I believe, the Nike line that's just been released.
Yeah, they usually come out around the time of the U.S. Open.
One that Lendl's using has been around for a while.
All that patchwork on the back, that's his initials. It took a long time to work that out. It's pretty colourful, but it's IL on the back of that shirt.
Oh, boy, he's got that one cooking. The one down the middle of the court, his 5th ace on the day.
30-15. McEnroe's not out of it, but he does have to make a move on Lendl's serve pretty soon, because he's had trouble winning his own.
Unbelievable. That's great stuff. Lendl said something as we see him charge and take such quick steps to this return of McEnroe's. He said, I finally feel, after the match against Agassi, he said, I finally feel like I'm starting to float around the court. And to keep up with that kind of shot, you've got to be moving well. Got it.
On the line, so McEnroe is ahead, or I should say Lendl is, by 3 games to 2 and 1 set to love.
This is kind of interesting, isn't it? I mean, these two have played so many times, and yet it seems that either one or the other is much more on the day. They haven't had to take it to that final set too many times in 30 tries. And it sure looks as though Lendl could straight set McEnroe today.
It's not one of those fire-breathing, let-it-all-hang-out encounters this yet. Anyway, it may end up being that. It's been so one-sided. Lendl's playing so well. McEnroe serving 2-3, second set.
That's it, but if you get a match like this, a lot of people say, no, it wasn't a very good tennis match, you know, 1 and 2 or something, but this still could work out to be a long one. But even in those circumstances, sometimes it's just a perfect match played by one guy that is really hot that day.
It's not like you could, if you're in McEnroe's shoes, you go off and say, well, I really played badly today. Because he hasn't.
Got him. Second serve ace down the middle. Hey, they're still on serve. Not much between these two in this set. McEnroe's serving has certainly picked up. In this one, he decides to take it right down the middle.
It's McEnroe's only ace of the day that comes on a second serve.
30 love.
You could see McEnroe's trying to get it into the Lendl body, and it's just not. He's just not jamming him enough. He gives Lendl a little bit too much time, and he can step away from himself and really tag it.
That, Mary, is why he has to hit that first serve with everything he's got, even if he misses a few more. He kind of slid that one in, didn't he? A little more spin on it. Haven't seen that many flubs on the swing from Lendl today, like that one.
The crowd loved this one, and it keeps McEnroe in this second set. Lendl just tees off that one straight at McEnroe. Good firm wrist. Always had great hands on the volley, McEnroe.
But Lendl's really sending the message that you better hit those volleys very crisply, or I'm going to get them back.
3 games all, second set.
McEnroe has 1 ace. That's Lendl's 6th.
Seven Grand Slam titles, Lendl. The 84 French, and then he won it in 86, 87 again, and from the US Open and Australia. And won the Australian once. That was this year, of course, in January. One of the things he wanted to do now, he says, all that's left for him in tennis is to win Wimbledon. So we mentioned earlier that he's talking about passing up the French Championships, going down to Australia to practice on grass in preparation for Wimbledon. That may or may not happen. I have the feeling Tony Roach is going to try to talk him out of it.
Yeah, but Lendl says he's 99% sure he'll do it.
Yeah.
It's how much he wants Wimbledon. McEnroe, of course, has won 3 Wimbledons, 4 US Opens, but he's never won the Australian, and he's never won the French.
Came awfully close against Lendl in 84, didn't he? 2 sets to love and chances for a break in the third.
Good in bocce and horseshoes. Close.
Game point. Lendl closes out McEnroe. In that game, it's 4 games to 3 and 1 set to love for the world's number 1. You're watching the Players International Canadian Open Tennis Championships. Ivan Lendl in the final against John McEnroe. Won the first set easily, is ahead in the second. No serve breaks yet in the second. I'm Cliff Drysdale, along with Fred Stolle and Mary Carrillo. In the semi-finals yesterday, 2 interesting matches. John McEnroe beating Jay Berger. Listless start in that match, but he won it in 3 sets, repeating what he did to Jay Berger on exactly a week ago in Indianapolis. Ivan Lendl beat Andre Agassi in a super final set, 6-4.
Again, that's just pace of shot wins that. Just blistering return off the forehand. McEnroe looking for the one down the line on that occasion. He got it out wide. Unbelievable angle created by Lendl.
There was one crucial point, early stages of that first set, when McEnroe had a chance to break Lendl back. Second game of the match, he didn't convert. Here is a critical stage for McEnroe's second set. If he doesn't win this game, and he's down love 30, Lendl will serve for the match and the title.
Look at that. That was so well struck. That's his 7th clean, cold winner. McEnroe didn't even clinch. He didn't even make a move to cover that return at the net.
It's amazing, though, that's the tactics that he uses. He goes out, and, of course, if it's working and he's on the return, that's what happens.
Okay, if Lendl wins either one of the next 3 points, he'll serve for $143,000. The Canadian Open champion for the 6th time. If
It's tough to jam Lendl today. That one did. So few have really bothered him at all.
Wide, please.
Sport's a game of inches. That one was 2 inches wide.
third breakpoint opportunity for Lendl.
Long, sir.
He didn't like the call, but nevertheless, Lendl was all over the return. Really smacked it, in fact. It's Bruno Rabot.
What a volley.
Tell you what, you got to have a vice-like wrist to handle this volley. Look, McEnroe there as firm as he could ever be on that, because that return of serve was blistered off the forehand side from Ivan Lendl. Back to deuce.
Was that typewriter? Did I hear typewriter? Maybe there's somebody up here near where we are typing through this window. That's a guess. I didn't hear clearly. Maybe you heard it better than I did. Nevertheless, it is another break point for Lendl. This is his fourth of the game.
You know, it's not like McEnroe hasn't been in serving trouble all week long. And remember, Jay Berger had 20 break chances against McEnroe's serve yesterday, but he only was able to convert 4 times. Lendl doesn't need as many chances to break.
That's it. unbelievable angle on that return to serve. Lendl has broken McEnroe the first time. That may be all he needs. He hasn't lost his serve in the match yet, and he'll serve it here at 5-3.
This has been the story all day. And it's a pretty good first serve that jams him, but he's got time to turn the shoulders and swing and get that topspin and creates the angle. McEnroe, astonished, cannot believe it.
Oh, that double fault really, really hurt him. Great comeback. Great volley at love at 30-40. Only to serve a double.
It's the second time in the match that Lendl has lost the first point on his serve. So that does give McEnroe a little bit of an opportunity if he misses a first serve here.
He couldn't do it again. What a get the first one was, though.
Unbelievable point here. The best of the match so far. That's the first one that gets up there. McEnroe gets back, hooks that one back, stays in the rally. Lendl quite content to keep the ball going. And then McEnroe has a crack here. This is another approach shot. Good deep one again. Nice volley. And then another slice lob. McEnroe closing in, but cannot quite get the legs back to that one. Just about a standing ovation for that point, both these fellas. They've taken the full 30 seconds. They needed it.
McEnroe had Lendl love 30 in one game in this match, and he had a break point second game of the match after he dropped his first serve game. But that's the only chance that he's had. If he wins this point, he'll have 2 break points for the first time since game 2.
He very nearly got to it. In fact, he did get to it, but just not enough time.
This is tremendous stuff here. McEnroe again not giving an inch behind the baseline, but certainly at full stretch. And Lendl really crunched that backhand volley, but he had to.
McEnroe needed that one to just crawl over the net for a winner. And then he could have had the break.
Well, he's still got a shot at it here.
30-40.
Fine serve again, sets up the forehand. Lendl hasn't been in too many times, but you're not going to get much better of an approach shot than that one.
2 points from the match for Lendl at deuce in the second set, 5 games to 3.
Thank you.
He just spanked him right off the court, didn't he? So it's a day like that where you think Ivan Lendl should be in a different weight division from everybody else.
Quite an incredible match for Lendl. He came up here saying he's looking for match play going into the US Open. This could be the finest 2 days. He got it all together yesterday in the 3rd set against Andre Agassi. Carried it through today with John McEnroe. He's got to be a pretty happy man.
Yes, of course, Lendl played well, but on the other hand, you got to hand it to McEnroe. He really gave it everything that he has. It wasn't enough today, but it was a good effort, and it was nice to watch. 6-1, 6-3, overpowering display from the world's #1, Ivan Lendl. He's the Canadian Open champion, and we'll be back. Ivan Lendl, looking ahead to the US Open, did here in Canada what he came to do: get a lot of match practice and win the championship over John McEnroe in a devastating display, 6-1, 6-3. And our champion is at courtside with the fiery one, Fred Stolle. Fred?
Thanks, Cliff. And Ivan, a great match. Have you ever played quite as well as that?
Thanks, Fred. I think I have played some pretty good matches, but this was one of the better ones, yeah.
Against Andre Agassi yesterday, everything seemed to come together. We mentioned that because of the way he played with that pace and from the backcourt, you might be able to get that backhand grooved, and it was awesome today.
It was better. I was feeling better last 3 days, and I think where I started playing better tennis was against Grant Connell in the 3rd set. And even in the 2nd set, I didn't play too bad. I just had a bad opening game there, and then yesterday, I think a little bit of concentration lapse at the beginning of the 2nd set, but I was pleased yesterday the way I hit the ball, and so I was today.
Seems that when you play John McEnroe, the first few games on John's serve, you just blister those returns at him and go for broke on the return.
Well, I didn't go for broke. I wanted to make him play a lot of volleys, but it seemed to sit up for me. I was seeing it well, and I was able to step into it, so I took a couple of swings.
Well, this has got to make you feel pretty darn good going into the US Open. You've done a lot of physical work before coming up here. Rochi's with you now. What are the plans for next week?
Oh, I think I will try to play golf, see how my back is, so he can give me some grief and I can recover some of Cliff's money he's saving from ESPN paychecks. And as far as my tennis, it's so far away, the Open. If I can work on it, be fit, stay healthy, hopefully move a little bit better on the court, still feel a little lighter, and maintain it for a couple of weeks and then pick up a little bit 2nd week of the Open, I should be fine.
Well, congratulations on a great effort, and thanks for being with us on ESPN.
Thanks, Fred.
Back up to you, Cliff.
Thank you very much. He's going to have to be playing pretty good tennis next week if he wants to take any of mine down the golf course. Of course, we will be watching him next week as well as he continues his preparation for the US Open at the Hamlet Challenge. We will start on Thursday.